All right, everybody, welcome back to the Skeptic Fence Show.
It's about to eat some ecstasy.
Really? No, that was a good tune back in the day, man. It's from like the early 90s, man. Come on now. Tonight's guest, everybody, is David Fitzgerald. He's an author and public speaker. This is his third appearance in 3 years. Topic tonight is Jesus, religion, and humanism. Dave, I'm proud to be a fan of yours. Third time on the show, and thank you for the autographed books. This is The Mormons. This is your latest book, right? And you autographed it for me. Thank you very much. And I also got nailed. It was a good porno, by the way, but the book is just as good. So we got nailed
Joe finally got nailed.
Yeah. But that being...
Just Google it. It comes up after like 46 pages of porn.
Dave got to unmute. Dave got to unmute. Dave, unmute. Oops.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was on mute. Here I was saying all this clever stuff.
Would you like to revamp that or no?
No.
No, okay, we're good. Okay, good. So, David Fitzgerald, I mean, like, he doesn't really need any introduction on this show if you're a long-term viewer on the show, but he's a great dude, and we've had him on 3 times. But we have a little bio for you, David, so if you don't mind.
Go for it.
Paul, have at it, man.
All right. David Fitzgerald is an American author, public speaker, historical researcher, and atheist activist. He holds a degree in history from California State University, Fresno. Didn't screw that one up this time. And has been actively researching the Damn it. I screwed that up now. Historicity
Yes.
of
Yes.
Jesus.
Not
that word.
Not
That word
historicity.
always
which
gets
I also
me.
hear a lot.
Yeah, for over 10 years. Formerly an associate member of the defunct Committee for Science Examination of Religion, Fitzgerald now serves on the boards of the San Francisco Atheists and the San Francisco branch of the Center for Inquiry. David is also the director and the founder of the first Atheist Film Festival, as well as San Francisco's oldest Darwin Day celebration, Evolution Palooza. Fitzgerald lectures across the nation at secular events and universities. He is best known for his multimedia presentations, The 10,000 Christs and Evaporating Jesus, as well as The Complete Heretic's Guide to the Western Religion. In November of 2010, he presented his research at Skeptic 3 in a presentation titled Examining the Existence of a Historical Jesus. Fitzgerald has also self-published a book, Nailed, The 10 Christian Myths That Show Jesus Never Existed at All, in which he details what he presents as 10 myths surrounding Jesus and aims to show evidence that Jesus may have been a figure of legend. And of course, as Joe pointed out, he has the new book out, The Mormons. And it's great to have you back on the show here, Dave.
Thanks, John. Paul?
Frank? Jimmy? Is Jimmy here? It's okay, David. But one thing I want to ask you is, how many years have you been doing Skepticon? You've done it.
This is the first year I've missed Skepticon since Skepticon 3.
And it was like 3 years in a row, right?
4. Wait,
Four?
no, say 3, 4, 5, 6. 4 years in a row.
Wow, 4
And I'm
years
sure
in a row.
I'm going back. It was just a scheduling conflict this time around. I thought they weren't going to be asking me, so I double booked myself, and then they asked me like 2 weeks later. It's like, no! Oh.
Well, you were busy last year, man, with your new book and everything, and it was really nice to see the pictures of you with all these people lined up in line trying to like get a signature and an autograph from you and talk to you. So
I literally was at the Atheist Alliance convention this morning in Seattle and just came back. Just came back for this podcast. That's the only reason I came back.
I know you said it to me. You're like, Joe, it's kind of close, but yeah, I'm going to get home and I'm going to make the podcast. I'm like, sweet, okay, cool.
Crazy busy this year.
I got one viewer submission, a question. I'll get to that later, but my questions are, and this is a general question I ask all our guests, is I'd like for people to get to know our guest. That being said, when it comes to religion, what was your journey like? You know, were you raised in a religious family?
Oh, yeah.
And what was... So get to it, man. We like hearing this kind of
raised-
stuff. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was raised Southern Baptist, which is, of course, as we know, is the one true faith, and was totally devout, totally believed it all the way up until my college days. And like every Dave Fitzgerald story, there's a woman involved. And in this case, it was a girl named Wendy. And the way we would flirt with each other is by having theological arguments with each other. So one day we're going at it, and she says, well, Dave, you know the Hindu religion is like 3,000 years old in Christianity. And I'm all set to jump down her case and, go, no, it's not, blah, blah, blah. But I stopped And all of a sudden I realized, I had no idea whether Hinduism was older than Christianity or not at that time. And that realization that I was about to spout off something that I had no idea was true or not freaked me out so much. I thought, well, I'm just like the Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses. That from that instant on, all of a sudden Christianity never felt real or genuine after that. It wasn't even like a conscious thought. It was like, wow, am I right or am I wrong? I'd never even asked myself that. And it just felt like complete bullshit ever since then.
But let me expand on that a little bit and ask you a follow-up question is, how do you feel now? Like,
the crazy thing about it is as soon as I lost my religion, I felt so much more connected to everybody else in the universe.
Nice.
Instead of like labeling everybody saved or unsaved, all of a sudden I could just accept everybody that I ran into, no matter what they looked like, what their race was, who they had sex with, just whatever they believed. I could relate to them as being human like me. Just feeling like I had a place in this universe for the first time.
That's amazing and very well said. Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because you're right, man. Some of the fundamentalists out there, they just are very discriminative, man. That's what their religion preaches. So, that being said, your books are great. I got 2 of them here. I've read them both. Awesome books. Now,
I'm hard at work on the sequel to Nailed right now as we speak.
That was my next question, actually.
All right.
Your books are great, of course. So, what is your next book?
Nailed 2. That'll come up on page 57 of Google when you try and Google it.
Somebody said I should do a book on Islam and call it Stoned.
You should. No,
TJ would read that book.
You should call it Nailed Double Penetration.
Nailed.
Now to Double Penetration coming to a theater near you. No, my next question was actually that where you're going to reply to this. I know this. What's your next book? What's your next book? Are you going to be continuing with? I guess this is a series you're doing, which is the Complete Heretic's Guide to Western Religion.
That's right.
And what's your next religion? Is there a next religion? What are you doing? I'm like, where are you going from here with the series?
All right, let me lay you out big time. First of all, the book I'm working on right now is the second book in the series, but it's also the sequel to Nailed. It's going to be called Jesus Mything in Action, and what it's going to do is take on Nailed took on the top 10 ways that Christians are wrong about Jesus. This book is going to take on the ways that atheists are wrong about Jesus, and it's for everybody who ever came up to me and said, oh yeah, I know he wasn't the Son of God, but we've got good evidence to think he really existed. And it's like, we really, really don't. And like I say in the book, I don't want to make you necessarily an atheist on the Jesus issue, but I want to make you an agnostic. In fact, I want to make you a militant agnostic. So when someone asks you what you know about Jesus, you say, I don't know if there was a Jesus, and neither do you. That's the next book that's coming up.
That sounds awesome. Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Right now, Paul mentioned that my most popular talk is that one, but actually what's happened since then is I have a talk called Sexy Violence, Violent Sex, the Weird-Ass Morality of the Bible, and that's really become my most popular talk now. So that's going to be the next book after this. It's going to be Sex and Violence in the Bible. And then I want to do like a guerrilla guide to the New Testament. It'd be just basically like, any Christian guide to the New Testament about, what this book is about, who wrote it, that kind of thing. Only it's going to be all the things that they would never tell you about it, like the mistakes in it, and what books is it stealing from, and how do we know that it wasn't written by who it says it was written by. And then after that, I'm going to do the Jehovah's Witnesses. So long story short, that's the next religion in the crosshairs. Is I'm picking more low-hanging fruit on the religious scale, and doing the Jehovah's Witnesses. So
when we look forward to Christianity.
Oh, like the whole
in the complete
be a big FU to Christianity in one sense or another.
I would figure that, yeah.
Ostensibly about Mormonism and Jehovah's Witnesses. Plenty to say about just the way religions are made and the way religions are done. And but yeah, I think the Sex and Violence book and the New Testament guide, those are going to be pretty. They're going to be popular, I think. To shake off.
I think they'll be popular. Yeah,
I think so.
There's no doubt, and because sexuality, religious or not, it's there's disagreements in many areas. So I think when you pick out the religious type of you know, what it says in the Bible about sexuality. And yeah, of course, I think you might hit the nail on the head. No pun intended, or pun intended there, I should say.
The fun thing about the talk, which you can find on YouTube, by the way, actually too. But the fun thing about it is I didn't go for the typical thing that every atheist knows already. I wanted to do not just incredibly messed up Bible stories.
Simple, like, yeah, arguments that everybody does.
Exactly. I didn't want to do those. We all know that, you know, if you hate gays, then you also have to hate Red Lobster. You know, we just know
exactly.
That. Yeah. But what I want to do is not just unbelievably messed up Bible stories, but ones that are doubly fucked up. And it's like, yeah, that's fucked up. But let me tell you
really
how it's even more fucked up than that. And so, boom.
What I think would be really good if you like brought up like something like would we know that has happened in the past due to these certain circumstances? Like if there's any kind of examples you can give, you know, that's happened in the past week.
I don't want to give away the store, but I mean, you can see the video on YouTube, so maybe I shouldn't be too coy about it. Well, for instance, like there's a great verse in the Bible in Exodus where Moses is on his way to, you know, get the children of Israel out of bondage from Egypt and, you know, the whole 10 plagues, all that. But in the middle of that, he meets God by a roadside inn, and God tries unsuccessfully to kill him. And the only reason he's saved is that his wife takes out a jaggedy rock, circumcises their son, and puts the foreskin on Moses' feet.
Yummy.
Yeah. And as I say, it gets even more perverse and twisted than that.
Dark Matter made a video on that, actually.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Damn it, Dark Matter. He's always one step ahead of me.
That's funny shit. That being said, I got my last question here. I'll switch you over to TJ next here. And I think this is a question that we really need to discuss here.
Yeah.
Is I've had Robin M. Price on the show. I've had Richard Carrier on the show. I recently had Bart Ehrman on the show, okay?
I love my Bart.
Bart's a great dude. Rich Carrier's a good dude. I love Rich Carrier's his research. I disagree on certain areas. We won't get into that. Robert Price, great friend of the show. Bob, he's a good dude. He's been on the show a couple times. Great guy. Love talking to him.
He's a climate change denier, which drives me up the fucking wall.
I know. But my question to you, it's a really hot topic here, and I know a lot of people want me to ask you a question. Is now I believe you adhere to Jesus mythicism, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, which is definition, people, if you don't know what that is, it's also called the Christ myth theology and Jesus mythicism, or just simply mythicism. It's a proposition where that Jesus of Nazareth never existed, or if he did, he had virtually nothing to do with the founding of Christianity and the accounts in the Gospels. Correct, David?
And I'm on the far end that says I don't even think there was a
Jesus
at all.
Okay, can you explain to us, not evidence-wise, but what have you looked into when it comes to Jesus mythicism? Like, why do you hold this position, and what accounts can you give us, like, the reason why you feel the way you feel when it comes to saying that Jesus just never existed?
Right. Well, and I got to preface that by saying 15 years ago, it never even crossed my mind that there was no Jesus. It wasn't until I got curious about, you know, what did he really say and really do, and how much was just legendary bullshit that was added after the fact, and how can we parse that out? That's when I got curious about finding the real Jesus. 2 years later, I'm thinking, okay, I don't think this guy existed at all. And, I mean, you guys have read Nailed, so you know the last chapter in there is, Can Jesus Be Saved?
Correct.
Where I lay out all these things that would be different in early Christianity, in the New Testament, in just the way history's unfolded, even if there had just been a guy named Jesus. And about as far as I'm willing to back on that is to say with Robert Price that if there had been a Jesus in the first century, for all extents and purposes, there isn't one anymore, because all our sources about this guy Jesus are not connected to anybody who actually lived in the first century.
No, I see what you're saying, and I'm at least my own personal opinion is I'm on the fence with this. You know, I agree with a lot of stuff that Ehrman says. I agree with stuff that Carrier you say, and it's just I'm on the fence. You know, I'm a skeptic. I got to think about this stuff, and
Joe, you know, I get that is a hard sell for atheists.
It
I
is.
totally get that, and that's why I'm writing the book I'm writing now, is because I want to make the best case for the fact that even if you don't totally embrace the theory, the fact is the theory should be taken more seriously than it is. And the most of the resistance that is to mythos theory is a holdover from the fact that most of biblical historian, that field of biblical history, is still an apologetic enterprise. Shouldn't be, but it is. And I wanted to spend a couple paragraphs in the book talking about that. I wound up spending 3 chapters in the book arguing that part of the reason that more biblical historians aren't on board with that is because most biblical historians work for Jesus and he is their personal savior. But even more to the point, it's the secular biblical historians who really have been doing all the work for the last 200 years in biblical, because everybody else is too busy circling the wagons, trying to stop up their ears and go, la, 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 I can't hear you, new information. But the secular historians, if there was a consensus amongst them about who Jesus was, then we'd be in a better shape. But the fact is, what we've got is the opposite. The more we study Jesus, the more ramified, the more mutated we get all these different incompatible views of Jesus. It's completely unprecedented in historical studies. Instead of knowing more about this guy, we know less and less and less, and everything we do know seems to look like the guys who proposed it.
No, exactly. I know what you're saying, and the problem, the issue I have, at least personally, and I'll get on to these guys because I've been here for 15 minutes, 20 minutes now talking to you about this, but, I listen to Airman, I listen to Kerry, I listen to you, but the issue I have, at least personally, which you don't really have to expand on because I want to get this moving on, is I'm trying to reply to you, is the account of Jesus, 0 to 33 AD, and there was this 40-year gap, and only supposedly Paul talked about Jesus, but it was in a spiritual way. Blah, 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 blah. This is the issue I have, is that time frame, that gap, where all of a sudden, now we're going to push Christianity 40, 50 years after,
or 2 generations, if you think of it that way. 2 generations,
if you think it that way, generation-wise. But
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing that struck. This is one of the first things that struck me when I first was looking into it, is like Christianity before the Gospels are written looks so much different than Christianity after the Gospels are written. That was one of the first red flags that came up for me.
Exactly. So, and I'm going to put this out there. One question, real quick. If you could be really quick on this, I'm like, we got some time, and you're a good guy. You don't mind staying a little late, so.
There for you, baby.
And you're on the West Coast, so you're good, babe.
That's right.
What do you think? And this is a very, I guess you could say, we'd like to bring up some kind of intellectual drama here once in a blue moon, and it's intellectual drama, not drama, but intellectual drama, I call it. What do you think of the Ehrman-Carrier debate of this? I would say, Bart Ehrman, he was on the show, and he called Carrier, and I quote, and I back Ehrman because I really love his works. Yeah. He quoted Carrier saying, he's not a generous person, and he's mean-spirited. When it comes to these exchanges between him. Ehrman basically says, hey, I try to be super nice to this guy, but he's arrogant, he's this and this and that. He's just disingenuous, and he's a mean-spirited person. I'm trying to be serious and have an intellectual discourse with the guy. Ehrman, believes Jesus existed, but he wasn't the divine entity. So
let me stop you there because there's so much to say just in what you said already here. I want to talk.
Go ahead, sorry.
First of all, I have to say, I love Bart Ehrman. I love Richard Carrier. They're 2 of the best biblical historians out there.
That's why I want your perspective on this.
Exactly. And here's what I can say. And let me give you full disclosure. Richard Carrier is my best friend.
Yes.
I speak to you right now. I am in his house in the Richard Carrier library.
I know that.
My fiance and his wife are downstairs giggling and getting drunk and watching British comedy. He's up in Seattle right now doing a debate on at the Atheist Alliance Con.
Good
so I'm
for
very close
you.
to Richard.
You're there with 2 women right now?
I thought I recognized that.
Crazier things have happened.
Good
in the
for
life
you,
of
brother. God bless you, man, in an awesome way.
That's what we call the after show party.
That's where we're going right after this. Go ahead.
And no one tell Rick this. Okay. But here's the thing about this, though. In all seriousness, I think Rick is right about his criticisms of this whole feud started with Ehrman's book, Bart's book, Did Jesus Exist? And here's the thing. It's a terrible book. It's an awful book. I love Bart Ehrman. His books, I recommend 99% of them 100%. For a staunch historist, he's one of the best mythicist writers out there because all his work has been, it bolsters our theory just as much as it does his theory that Jesus was at best a failed apocalyptic prophet. But here's the thing. I completely lost my train of thought of where I was going with that. We didn't dislike did Jesus exist because mythicists like me expected him to agree with us. The reason we were disappointed in it is because instead of taking on the best arguments for historicity and presenting that, and taking on critiques of the worst kinds of mythicism and clearing out all the deadwood, he didn't do any of that. Instead, he gave us this book that was phoned in and has blatant errors. And yeah, Rick Carrier was really harsh on this book. I think the reason that Rick is sort of the linchpin for all this hatred is because he's gave the most insightful criticism of why this book is so bad. But there are many people who were disappointed in this book and said it was so bad and just pointed out obvious mistakes. And Bart, again, I love Bart. I think he's awesome. But his response to the criticism has just been a second disappointment, because he doesn't respond to the criticism of the ideas. He took it personally. He got offended, and I don't blame him for that because it was pretty harsh. But still, you know, Richard Carey defends Bart when he's right. He condemns Bart when he's wrong. You know, I wish there could be a way to mend that gap and for them to just kind of back off from the level of antagonism that's happened now and just say, look, we don't have to agree on this. This is not a war. This is a scholarly disagreement. Let's focus on the issues that have been raised.
I agree, and that's well said, and that's why I want your opinion on this, David, because, of course, I'll send a link to what you just said to Bart Ehrman, if that's okay with you, and if you should Carrier. And I think it's a good way to mend and just worry about the issues at hand and not... You know, I understand there's going to be petty issues, you know, when it comes to scholarly debates or, you know, academic debates or academia, I should say. You know, you're going to have these issues, and that's okay, but...
Fast. Let me jump in, because here's the thing. Scholars disagree all the time. That's not special. That's not
correct.
That's not a big issue. The problem
this is too public.
The problem that's happening to it's not even that it's public. The problem is that
too public.
It's not even that, honestly. I mean, that's ugly and that's painful and
correct,
and irritating, annoying. But the problem with it is that Bart is acting as though this whole theory, first of all, that all mythicist theories are the same, which is ridiculous for starters. But that the idea that Jesus didn't exist is just so ridiculous that it needs to be slapped down, and that these veiled threats that anybody who tried to present such an idea would not have a job, would not be taken seriously by academia, that's not something to brag about. That's something we should be ashamed of. And I spent 3 chapters in the books one whole chapter giving case studies of not even atheist scholars who are getting in trouble for this, but Christian biblical scholars who are getting in hot water because they got too close to stepping over the line on things that aren't even near this level of blasphemy. It's like, if you're going to get in trouble for saying that Moses probably didn't exist in this day and age, that's a huge issue, because that means if you're going to lose your job about that, there's no way in hell you're going to weigh in on the Jesus historicity issue. And in fact, Rick has told me that he's talked to plenty of biblical historians who are afraid to admit that they're agnostic, at least, if not in favor of mythicism. And even some of them are the major players in the field who are afraid of losing their job because of this. So there's so many more issues going on around this.
It is. There's a lot going on currently, you know, with all this stuff. But I want to get on to the other guys here, and I know you said you would stay a little late. But
I'm here for life.
Yeah, I know. You've been awesome with us, and you've always stayed late and hung out with us for the new segment tonight. So you've always done that. It's your 3rd time here, so I do appreciate your time. I got a viewer submission question, if you guys don't mind. Let me ask this real quick, and then I'll go on to TJ. It's really quick, so if you can just maybe keep it down to maybe a couple minutes, that'd be great.
Go ahead and put the hook on me if I go on too long.
No, that's fine. No. This is from our Facebook, Luca D. Bon. He or she, Luca, I don't even know. Is there any truth to the claims that the writings of Josephus and Tacitus Why am I thinking dark matter right now? Were revised at some later point to include the Jesus accounts.
Gotcha. For Tacitus, for Josephus, Bart Ehrman actually made a great point recently. He said, even if the Testimonium Flavinium was 100% genuine, it's being written in a book that was written in 93 or 94. So even if it wasn't a complete forgery, and believe me, it's a complete forgery. We've had that for multiple reasons. It's not saying anything that any Christian would have said in the year 93 or 94. So it's really kind of worthless for that. The only reason people fixate, and by people I mean apologists, the only reason Christian apologists fixate on Josephus is because if you take Josephus out of the equation, you've got nothing
exactly
for the entire century of Christianity. And that's why they dig their heels in on these two very suspicious, problematic passages. But yeah, it's clearly a forgery because for multiple reasons. I got a whole chapter saying that why. Tacitus. Now, that's a slightly different story because I have heard people who have said, in fact, I think it was Rick who was telling me this, that he's read that some scholars think that the whole passage was originally about a different group altogether and that a later interpretation made it about Christians. So there's that. I don't have anything more to go on or more authoritative than that. That's just an interesting bit of information to share, and as more details come in for that, and depending on whether it seems to track out or not, I'll say more about that in the new book.
Exactly. Thank you very much, David, and thank you for answering the question and our viewer submission question. I'm going to hand it over to these guys right here, and I'm sorry, guys, for taking 30 minutes here, but we got some time with David, so relax, ask them, your questions, and we're going to give it to TJ here. TJ, have at it.
How you doing, David?
I'm doing great.
I really do appreciate your time and having you here. I'm kind of known for asking the hard-hitting questions, so I'm just gonna hit you with some hard questions, some real hard ones here. I was
that GJ. Let me stop you real fast because it just occurred to me. If I don't say it now, I'll probably forget to do it. And I really want to give a shout out to Rick Carrier's new book on the historicity of Jesus. If you've read Proving History, you'll love it. On the history of Jesus, that's the 1-2 punch for Christianity. It blows my mind. It's going to be a game changer. Anyway,
and we'll have him on the show, of course, again. Yes, absolutely. Talk about it.
But I interrupted.
All right. Well, here's some hard hitting questions for you.
His girlfriend. Fiance.
Oh, hi.
Not girlfriend. All right. But you were saying, TJ.
Hello.
Yeah. So I was reading your book, and I have to ask, what did Joseph Smith ever do to you?
You know, it's funny. When I was researching that book, I kept thinking, what a magnificent bastard this guy is. It just kind of blew my mind what a perfect storm of bullshit he was. I kind of grudgingly admired him until my friend Andrea Moore Emmett pointed out that he has ruined so many lives of women and children that, it's not cute. It's not cute.
Well, what kind of golden plates did you use to write your book?
Don't ask. You know what's funny? Even though there were no golden plates, one of the spin-offs of Mormonism actually did have some nice fake brass plates that, though they weren't as impressive as a big thing of golden plates, they really existed and you really could hold them, and we have pictures of them.
Nice. Do you have you get a lot of hate mail? Do you have like a favorite memorable hate mail that you've received?
Oh gosh, surprisingly little. I mean, you'd get the odd death threat every now and again when I worked with San Francisco atheists, but it's my Gmail name is everybodylovesdave@gmail.com, and it's surprisingly apt. It's surprisingly apt. It seems like there's a lot of Christians out there who love me, even though they like my Mormon book much more than they like Nailed. It's just the weird Facebook trolls that you get every now and again. And the funny thing about that is the most annoying ones that really get up my nose aren't the Christians. It's the atheists who are douches about whatever fill in the blank it is.
Yeah.
We're
very familiar with that. Are you familiar with a lot of like creation stories, and do you have a favorite?
You mean like different
different creation stories altogether?
No, but I am kind of fascinated by the evolution of the Noah story, the flood story. from Utnapishtim and from the Mesopotamian and the Sumerian and Akkadian. You know, when you watch the evolution of that, it's very hard to take any one of them seriously as the real story. When on Facebook, when the Christians were complaining that the new Noah movie wasn't biblical enough, I posted a fake headline saying, Sumerians say that the Epic of Noah isn't isn't Epic of Gilgameshly accurate enough, you know. Yeah.
Nice.
It was funnier in my head.
Oh, it was good. It was good.
Oh, that was good.
What do you think is the most compelling like contradiction in the Bible, like as an argument against itself?
Probably. Well, one of them certainly has got to be the difference between the Old Testament and the New Testament, and just the way that the God who's so anal retentive about all these things, you know, like shellfish and can't defeat iron chariots and such, all of a sudden has this new makeover and the reboot in and that it's funny that just when the Greeks and the Romans suddenly all had these demigods, what do you know? Yet Jehovah has a demigod son too, just like them, and exact same time. It's just, but actually not even at the exact same time. A little later on, he just has to kind of catch up, you know. And yeah, just the way Jehovah and Jesus always have to catch up just a little bit more behind the times.
Well, all right. You've been doing pretty good with the hard questions. Let me just give you a nice.
Hard questions. What?
No, I'll give you a softball here.
Oh, good.
Why do you hate Jesus?
Why do I hate Jesus? You know why?
What's that, Cavassier?
I'll give you real, because for the last 15 years, I haven't been able to watch Game of Thrones or Battlestar Galactica because I'm reading too many goddamn Jesus books. And I don't even read them. Seriously, I'm a little tired out of Jesus. I'm a little burned out on JC, so I can't wait to do the Sex and Violence book. And
I'm looking forward to that, man. That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna close out with two quick questions. How far from like the truth and reality do you think the Bible is on a scale of 0 to 100?
100 being totally legit, and 1 being not even close.
Like totally unbelievable in every way.
I'll say in the teens, because there really was a Hezekiah and there was a guy named Paul, but half of what we know about him was bullshit written by Luke. So there's a modicum of truth in there.
Okay, and now the same question for Mormonism.
Yeah, that is a whole lot of bullshit. There was a North American continent, and Indians did live on it. So those things are true. Those are very true.
So Mormonism is about like a 0.0001.
It's not real high. It's not real high.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I really do appreciate having you on here. I'm going to pass you off to Drew. I'm sure he's got some good questions for you.
Good, Drew.
Yeah. We touched on this a little bit earlier. TJ had mentioned it during one of our topics earlier for the news segment. I've had these discussions a lot, and as an atheist and a historical researcher, what is your take on Christians who, quote unquote, don't take the Bible literally?
It drives me up the fucking wall that we have to know their goddamn book better than they do. And they act like Christianity just floats above it all and is untouched. But, oh, yeah, we know it's made by human people and mistakes. So, but Christianity is wonderful. It's like, shut the fuck up, you know? If you don't believe in evolution, look at your damn religion, because that thing is Darwinian evolution in action.
Very, very nice. I was gonna give you an example of one of the people that I've been talking to. Claims that he is a Christian. He doesn't take the Bible literally. And he doesn't even believe that Jesus actually existed.
That's the kind of Christian I want to meet.
Yeah, because that's kind of what I was saying. Is I don't understand. I guess that's another good question.
That's kind of like gay Republicans and black partiers.
Yeah, really,
like
right.
Christian heavy metal bands. It's like, okay, I get that. You know, I understand both those words, but together they make no sense. You know?
Well, you guys remember Brett Keane? He used to say that he believed in Jesus, but he wasn't a Christian.
Yeah, he was a theist.
Yeah, he called himself a theist, not a Christian, but he believed in the divinity in Jesus.
You can't
no.
How do you entertain that?
Whatever floats your boat, guy. That's what I say to people like that. It's like, why? It makes me wonder, what is it about it that they just can't jettison the bullshit is what's making them hung on to that. I don't know. I mean, it's but
Well,
I like seeing that because that means that people are embarrassed of their religion. They know it's bullshit.
Oh yes, they are.
So it's just a way station along the sun, the way.
And they get pissed when they know that you're right. There's like
nothing. Hey, nothing gets me more pissed is when I know they're right.
Exactly.
Wrong. Yeah.
Go ahead, Drew. I'm sorry.
It's an interesting question. I was wondering if we could maybe touch on that. I don't know if we know what actually falls under the category of a Christian. I've been reading Bertrand Russell's Why I'm Not a Christian, and that's one of the questions he addresses in the beginning is what actually falls under the criteria there, because I would say personally, if you don't think that Jesus, or you don't know that Jesus actually existed, then you don't believe in all the other stuff that Jesus supposedly did. In what meaningful sense are you actually a Christian?
Exactly. And it's a good question you ask, because it's not just a meme, it's a memeplex. It's this whole raft of different things, and nobody quite seems to have the same raft of memes floating around. And I mean, I think officially there's like 30,000 branches of Christianity, but it might even be that there's 7 billion forms of Christianity, because I kind of think no two Christians think the same thing.
Yeah, it's almost to that point. It's like every time it spreads out, even those little branches, there's like 2 or 3 different people that just kind of take it and go different ways with it.
And again, it's evolution in action. It is, Darwinian steroid jungle out there. Yeah.
What's the joke? If you can't find the brand of religion you want at the First Baptist Church of wherever, you can find it at the Second Baptist Church of wherever.
Yep. I mean, that's one thing about Christians. Christians can't agree on what a Christian is and who's a Christian. Who's a real Christian? Who's a counterfeit Christian,
John Hagee pointed out who was a real Christian.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And why their Christian values reflect what they fucking believe in.
Here's the thing. If there was no other religion on the planet except Christianity, we would still be killing each other over the right and wrongness of it.
Denominations and dogma.
Yep.
I got to ask you.
Yeah, like the Catholics and the clash of Protestants and Catholics. Ireland is a perfect example. But even here in our history here in the United States, that people don't really realize that it used to be how bad that people hated Catholics.
And isn't it bizarre that you can barely tell a Lutheran church from a Catholic church apart anymore, and yet 500 years ago they were killing each other apart?
Yeah,
correct.
5th and 6th century, Christians were killing each other over stuff I can barely even hang on to. It's like, what? It's the same substance of the Father or similar substance of the Father? It's like, it's so esoteric and bizarre and obscure. You don't know whether to laugh or cry.
Right
you don't
before,
know whether to laugh or cry.
Yeah, let's.
The wine is blood. No, the wine isn't blood. The wine becomes blood.
Yes,
no, it's the wine. It's blood before it. No, it's blood as it comes in your body. No, it's blood as it goes in your urinary tract. Wait, what?
Oh, you're making a joke, and yet that's exactly the kind of thing that people get killed over.
Exactly. Real quick, Paul, before you get on, or Drew, before you get on your next question, David, I need to ask you, what the hell are you drinking?
This
because we drink on the show. So
this is champagne of some sort that we didn't have any champagne flutes for. So
champagne.
Dana could tell you what it was, but
it's liquid meth. Liquid meth.
Refreshing crack.
Go ahead, Drew. Sorry.
Yeah, you said earlier that your books were going to move towards low-hanging fruit.
What I mean by that is, yeah, I'm going to the Jehovah's Witnesses because nobody knows that's bullshit. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Mostly, if you've read the Mormon book, you see that part of it is just like how to talk to these guys when they show up at your door. So it's not just a secret history of everything they don't want you to know. I hope it's entertaining just on its own. But the real purpose is when these guys show up, that's an opportunity for you to talk to them. And that's, you've got a captive audience right then.
And I wrote... sorry, Drew, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I'm just flowing right here. Is like the funny thing about that is maybe if you just show the main denomination here in the United States how fucked up Mormonism is, then maybe, just maybe, they'll think about their own religion and figure it's just as fucked up.
That's exactly what I would try to do. Is I'm showing the origins of how you can spin complete sheer bullshit into what we call Utah today.
And you did say that in your book.
Walk around Salt Lake City, it's like you're in a parallel universe. It's like, holy crap,
Really?
Yeah. And it's all 100%. It's from nothing.
That's why I want to bring it up, because you did mention in your book. Go ahead, Drew. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, that was my question when you're talking about your new books going towards low hanging fruit. My question was: is there really a low hanging fruit when it comes to religion?
To be fair, the sex and violence and the New Testament guide, I think those are going to be very handy things to have. I don't consider that low hanging. I think that's actually going to be some top notch, drop drawer stuff.
I agree with you on that.
For instance, I mean, I don't know if I guess it would be helpful to have a book on Scientology. It would be helpful to have a book on Islam. But until I have a better security budget, they are the one true faith as far as I'm concerned. So I'm not touching those guys. Yeah, I think, what am I trying to say? There's so many religions out there. I'm trying to go for not like religion of the week, like this week it's Methodism, or this week it's the Seventh-day Adventists. It may turn into that down the line, but I kind of want to do like big ticket items like heaven and hell. Do the whole doctrine and let that percolate through all those guys. Well, seriously, I don't do the historicity of Jesus because as an evangelical tool, because I don't think that works for Christians and believers, but it's an example of if you take out this one thing, that affects all of them. So,
Dark Matter got a little. No, I'm sorry. I'm going to say low hanging fruit. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
I have one more, but we're almost running out of time. I want to pass. Go ahead. And pass
we're not running out of time. He's going to go a little. We're going to extend it a little bit, and then we'll go to the after party show.
Yeah, I was wondering if I can have one more, then I'm going to pass you on to Paul here.
Sure.
You had talked. I'd seen a video before where you had talked about that atheists were very vocal about you disagreeing with the historicity of Christ.
Right.
I was kind of curious if you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was the biggest surprise when I wrote Nailed. Is not that the Christians hated it, but there were so many atheists that it would set off all their bullshit alarms, and the same despised, dismissal that I use for like climate change deniers. I was getting that aimed at me. It's like, oh, this is crazy crackpot bullshit, and it's like, yeah, there is a lot of crazy crackpot bullshit of Jesus myth. This isn't that. This is the real thing. And here's the other thing about that. I could be completely wrong about that. But I don't think I am, and I'm willing to change my mind if it turns out I am. But don't dismiss this out of hand. Mm-hmm. That's my biggest thing.
No, very good.
Right now.
Yeah, very well said.
Very well said. I think that is the most honest position a person could have.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to pass you on to Paul here. Go ahead, Paul.
Before we get to Paul real quick, Paul, if you don't mind, I just got a viewer submission question real quick, and then Paul can wrap up the show because I know he has a good amount of questions lined up for you. It's from Non-Stamp Collector, actually.
Oh, I love that, man.
He asked, and I don't know how serious he is, which I'm sure he is, any thoughts on James Tabor's work, especially his book, Paul and Jesus?
The short answer is no, I don't. But there's so many books out there that I've read, and so many books, and it seems like as soon as I've read one, I think I've read them all. Somebody else says, "Oh, well, have you read blow's book?" And I'm sure I've interacted with arguments in there because the name definitely rings a bell, but I couldn't give you any specifics on it. Again, with the historicity thing, I also try to do broad strokes and try to address all the things across the day and not dig too deep and down too many rabbit holes.
He said, fair enough. He knows Tabor is problematic. So,
and you know what? I'll bet you if you ask Richard Carrier the same question, you could go on for another 5 minutes and tell you exactly what he thinks of Tabor, because I know he interacts a lot more closer than that than I do.
Awesome. Paul, go ahead. Have at it, man. It's all you.
All right. Why I want to ask, why do you think Christians got so upset over the book that you wrote compared to and then they were okay with the book about the Mormons, crazy old Joe Smith, that's all right, but not us Christians. Why do you think they got so upset over that?
Is that a real question, John? I mean, Paul,
well,
really,
yeah, I mean, well,
no,
because it attacks their brand of.
They're not upset because I'm attacking, lost my religion. They're attacked because I lost their religion. It was very funny how often I heard from Christians that David Fitzgerald doesn't know what he's talking about. He's an amateur. He's doing this is crazy crackpot nonsense that was all debunked in the 19th century. But then he writes the Mormon book and it's like, oh, this is awesome. Boy, he nailed his research on this one. He's gotten so much better. Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is.
The cognitive dissonance that goes on with trying to hold on to belief.
Yeah, I wonder what the reaction is going to be to the next one, because I'm not trying to reach out to Christians that as an audience in these books, because, I mean, if Jesus landed in a flying saucer on the White House lawn and unscrewed his head and said, look, I'm just a Martian robot, this has all been an anthropological experiment, there would still be Christians who would still continue to believe in Jesus, even if you could debunk it in any way. So I didn't write these books to do that on the Christian side. I did this for atheists.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm very glad you did too, because for the longest time, and this actually was a question that I had, once I shucked the religion, I grew up Lutheran/Catholic, really weird conversion process. But my mom,
yeah.
Well, I'm sorry to digress a little. She went from Lutheran to Catholic because she felt more at home at Catholic, and they were more welcoming and inviting.
And that's just why you have a Satanism tattoo on your arm now.
Yes. Yes.
The other side of Catholicism, yeah.
Yeah, but why? I've always thought, since I shucked it, that they're mythologies. So why do we continue to give them the respect of saying that religions and not just call them out for being mythologies? Why do we continue to do that?
That is a great question. I wish we would, and I think that's starting to happen. I say this a lot on podcasts, but this generation in college now is the least religious generation in human history. And it's been that way for about 5 years, when it was back at 27% or so. Now it's almost split at even 33% between religious people, spiritual but not religious, and openly atheist. And those numbers just keep ticking up. So every day another Fox viewer gets lost to senility or the grave, but another kid becomes an atheist. So good times are ahead of us. You know, once the politicians realize there's more atheists and teabaggers, then they're going to be kissing Neil deGrasse Tyson's ass, not Ken Ham's ass, you know, and that's going to be good for us.
Religion is generational. So
yeah. So hang in there. Hang in there. Don't give up hope.
Correct.
And that's why I was glad that when we were talking to Hemet Mata, he was saying that
love him.
You know what he's had people come to him in out of the classroom, which is cool. And I love that it's more that they're more willing to say it instead of going along with it, and it's more willing that people are already at that age thinking this is bullshit.
Yep. And like you said, even if they just saw it as mythology rather than history, that alone would be huge.
Yeah, because you think about the stories of Norse mythology, and I grew up with Greek mythology. I love Greek mythology, and you look at things like Zeus, and you're like, okay, you can recognize how absurd that is. But then when you think about Christianity and Jesus and the demigod Jesus, how is it not absurd?
But you know what? Here's the thing, though. When you think of it as mythology, you can see the value of it all of a sudden. You know, oh, this story about Zeus and this, it's not really about that. It's about jealousy, or it's about something, you know, Aesop Fabulian, to quote a new word. It's when you start becoming fundamentalist Aesopsians and say, no, the fox really did have the sour grapes and things like that. And, you know, all unbelievers must be cleansed. That's the problem.
And the question also had, do you think that if it wasn't for Constantine and his actions, the cult of Christianity would have gotten so large? Because I know you detailed what happened there.
Yeah, I think a bigger influence was, as long as Rome was doing great, Mithraism was going to do great, and Christianity was always going to be on the fringe, because it never even made to the level of the minor Roman cults. But once that, in the 3rd century, once Rome just started going from foobar, you know, inflation, you know, political instability, borders getting wrecked, infrastructure crumbling, that whole 100 years of civil war and economic chaos, once that started happening, that's when Christianity took off. And maybe Constantine loved Christianity because his mother was a Christian.
Correct.
Or maybe he said, you know what? As a aspiring totalitarian dictator, these folks have everything I need. They listen to their bishop and they do whatever he says. Whatever reason it was, that was kind of the icing on the cake at that point, you know.
And
but it was Rome going to hell that led to the rise of Christianity, not the rise of Christianity leading to Rome going to hell.
wait, yeah, I thought it was all the homosexuals that led to the fall of the Roman Emperor or Empire.
Clearly,
and Christianity saved it.
Yes. Yeah, it's fascinating too that another thing about the switch from paganism to Christianity was it was this huge financial windfall for the Roman Empire. So it's like all the worst, most venal, materialistic reasons you could have, motivations you could have, were behind this switch. You know, it's just, again, Darwinian evolution in action.
Which always goes back to how religion is just a big money game.
Absolutely.
Right from the beginning, where I mean, yeah, now that people can't realize for what it is. You go, you pay money to people who tell you that you're going to go to hell if you don't, or if they're not that bad, they just say, oh, well, you're giving to the church so we can support the spiritual health of everyone else around us. It's
so true. And even when they start out as like sincerely deluded whack jobs out in the desert who really believe, St. Francis with the birds, or Buddha getting enlightened if he ever existed, and I don't think he did. But no matter how lily white pure their motives are, boom, next thing you know, the money market guys are in there, and the marketing folks, gurus, are there, and you're right back to square one.
Do you think, because I know there's a rise of mega churches and things like that, do you think that is going to continue, or will that hopefully implode? Because they're friends with everything.
Older and grayer, and in the non-mega churches, that's what I've noticed recently. When I go into a church these days, which is rare enough, it's all old people. When I talk at Christian universities and do the apologetics classes, like, where are all the 20-somethings? These are all guys in their 40s and 50s, So I think there's some cause for hope. Mega churches are so creepy anyway, just because they're this big all-encompassing monster of consumerism dressed up in Christian clothes. So there's all these other benefits you get. I think most Christians are Christians for reasons that are good and rational and make sense, and have nothing to do with Christianity being good or rational or making sense, if that makes sense.
Good people are good people. It doesn't take religion to make a good person, and it definitely takes religion to make good people bad.
And you guys already touched on this tonight about how Christianity is separating out from the Bible and improving its marketability by saying, oh no, we love gay people, or we next thing will be you can have premarital sex and Jesus will still love you. I mean, they're gonna have to make that change sooner or later, or they just won't be able to keep up. They just won't be able to.
Well, Dark Matter has a good question. Dark Matter 2525. What would Jesus Christ say about a megachurch?
Which Jesus, Dark Matter? Which Jesus?
Peter's. Go with Peter's.
But the majority of Jesuses had nothing good to say about materialism and richness. You can make verses of that Jesus was a commie much easier than you can that he was gospel prosperity. That's just
But if you say Jesus was a communist, then you're a liberal or socialist or atheist scum. But he was really, wasn't he?
Well, at least the early church was communist, whether Jesus was or not, and of course he wasn't. That whole parable that Ananias and Sapphira getting mysteriously dropping dead, in front of Paul. That whole story is about you have to share with us, comrades, or else God will kill you. And we're here to conveniently take you outside and dump your bodies.
Paul, one more question, and we'll wrap it up here.
I actually those was my questions.
Just guys,
really?
I was just going to say in relation to that.
Anyone else?
Wow, perfect timing, Paul.
Yeah, I was going to say in relation to that last comment there is isn't it funny how Jesus became a capitalist?
Yep. Yep. And a white guy.
And a white guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fox News seems to think that.
And the poor. Yep. Yep.
And lazy bastards, those dirty people that don't get off their ass and go to work.
Get off your dirty couch, you filthy hippie. Yeah. You long-haired scum. Be more like Jesus with his smart, clean haircut and a good job.
I think nothing personifies that idea better than the pictures of Mormon Jesus, where they have him like he's wearing a suit and he has like a little comb over haircut.
The comb hair over hair. TJ's gonna have that in about 10 years.
For everybody,
right,
man.
TJ?
No joke.
TJ, dude, you look totally fucking stoned, dude. Like you're just like fucking gone, dude.
Are you wrecked, bro? Are you wrecked?
Dude, you look fucking wrecked, man.
Take off those sunglasses. Don't take off those sunglasses.
Yeah, I'm not. Trust me.
He's in the Matrix.
He's probably like, this is him when he's sober, actually, probably.
Right.
I actually haven't had a beer in like 10 days.
10 days. So this is
That's the longest I've gone without a beer for a long time.
Coctopus on alcohol. Coctopus without alcohol.
Problem now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, God.
Exactly. I gave up one addiction and intensified another. So it'll work out in the end, though.
Real quick, we're going to do the after show party. David, do you want to hang out here? I'm going to try to get a couple people on here, like maybe Dark Matter 2525 and Non-Stamp Collector. You guys want to come on? Hit me up. And
just bear in mind, there's 2 women downstairs that are waiting for me to come down. So at some point, I'm going to need to bail out. But until then, I'm all you guys.
Yeah, we're not. It's the after show is not long at all. It's maybe like a half an hour, 45 minutes, if that's all.
I can do that. I can do that.
And then you go. Do we got to do it with the 2 women? So yeah, I'm in. Just give me 10 minutes. So it looks like Non-Stamp Collector's in. Dark Matter, hit me up, and then we'll get the after show party on, and it's gonna be here, guys. I'll post like 3 times in a row, or 4 times in a row. But what I want to do on an outro here is I want to give everybody I should say, give a thumbs up to David Fitzgerald. It's his 3rd time on the show, man. Woo. And please go support David Fitzgerald, man. He's awesome, man. He's a public speaker. He's came out with a lot of really good books, like this book right here, Nailed, which is signed. Thank you, David. And then you got The Mormons, which is the latest that came out last year. Awesome. The Complete Heretic's Guide to Western Religion. Awesome fucking book, man. I'm looking forward to the series. I'm looking forward to your books that are coming up, man. And everybody, give them a thumbs up, man. And David, man,
and if we have time during the after show, maybe we can talk about the other books I've written.
Oh, yeah, we will go into that. Yes, I'm well aware of them, so we can do that, too. So, Dragnot, if you want to come in, too. Yeah, I forgot about Dragnot.
Yeah,
so.
where's Dragnot?
Dragnot, he's coming in. Yeah, he's been here all night, so, yeah, Dragnot, I'll have him in on the after show. So, thank you, Jar, thank you. Yeah, it was a really good show tonight. We had over 250 people tonight. Thank you very much. And this is where the after show is going to be. Head over there now. It'll take us maybe about 5 or 8 minutes to get the show going. I got to set up some graphics, call a few people like Dark Matter if he wants to come. I don't even know what he said. And then Non-Stamp Collector, he said give him 10 minutes. So let's figure 8 or 10 minutes and we'll get the after show going. Head over there. I'll play some music and then we'll get the show going, man. So guys, thank you very much. And please subscribe to us on Facebook and also Twitter and our YouTube channel. You can go to skepticfence.com, and all the social media links are on the upper right at skepticfence.com, of course. And God's Brothel. I'm looking at your book right now for some odd reason. I don't know. It says God's Brothel. I don't know. It's an image in your book, David. But
it's a great book. It's a great book.
Yeah, and we got little cleavage by Zen Spirit here on the screen. So, Dave, have you watched the show live or no at all?
I haven't watched the show live. I'm missing all the cleavage.
Oh, you're missing cleavage. You're missing the chat room, man. Well, I'm going to give you my link to the after show, and you got to, like, check out the chat room, man.
Dude,
seriously.
hook me up. Hook me up. I'm a Luddite when it comes to this stuff, so yeah, help me out.
Here we go. There we go. There's the link to the after show. Everybody head over to the after show. We're doing it right now. We'll be live in about a couple minutes. We'll play a music or a song or two, and then we good to go. All right. Thank you very much for your guys' support. Love you guys. We'll see you guys at the after show.